I mean, we have come so far in such, when you really look at history, women have really come so far in a short amount of time, but we still have so much further to go. So I went to a psychiatrist who said, "You're too broken. There's no hope for you. The only thing that's going to work is electroshock therapy." Being okay with who you are, like knowing this is me, this is who I am, and it is beautiful. And we teach you how to get into your heart space, which is where you have this connection to your divine, whatever that is to you. If it's God, Christ, the universe, source, whatever you call it, you open that communication back up.
Cassidy Green, I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited to talk to you.
What's so interesting about this is one, we're friends. Two, we're both hypnotists. Three, we're both Quantum Journeys hypnosis certified. Four, we're both so passionate about this return to authenticity and truth. And right now you're doing your course, your Awaken course, which is all about returning to that true essence. And so I want to talk a little bit about your personal journey, your background, and I want to understand how those experiences shaped your understanding of self-acceptance and alignment with your true essence.
How far back do you want me to go?
You could just gloss over the really sticky parts
Okay,
or
okay. So it starts with childhood sexual abuse that led to divorce, that led to my mother not being able to be around me and being sent to live on a commune from the age of 9 to 12, coming back to civilization in middle school was
wow, what an
quite.
age to be going back to
Yes,
civilization.
yes. Here I was, this very odd child. So I was always this odd, like, being and never really found my groove until I graduated from high school. And we purchased two friends and I purchased a school bus and renovated it. And we traveled around the United States, like bartering our way through, which was so amazing. Like, I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And then I went to college and I was pretty lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And everybody just said, "Oh, you'd be a good teacher." So I went into education where I taught for 20 plus years. I won't say how many because that will really age me. 20 plus years where I loved being a teacher. I loved it. I just didn't love everything else about it. As I shared with you, like there was a lot of stigmatism around my being. I was not accepted as my true self, so I had to hide that, who I was, which was really challenging because it's hard to hide yourself. And when you hide yourself, you kind of just actually stifle it down, you stuff it down, and you then just kind of forget that person. And so I became this person that I really didn't know. And then there was an incident at work where I was attacked. So I left, walked away. I was told if I didn't come back, that I would lose everything. Like I lost my retirement. I lost everything that I had worked, I thought worked so hard for. So I was really lost. I was in a dark place. My oldest son had just gotten married. My youngest son was in college. I Here I was like not knowing who I was, what I was. I didn't have my career. I didn't have my children. I didn't know who or what I was. And I just, um, I never dealt with the abuse from, being attacked, from being a child, um, from teenage years. I just never dealt with it. And it all came at once. And so I decided to end my life. So I was driving to work to tell them I'm not coming back. And I decided this isn't worth it. And I crashed my car into a tree, which led me to the hospital for 45 days. And then because I had tried to end my life, I was institutionalized. So I was in an institution for quite some time, 3 months. And getting out of there, I had to go to talk therapy. And also, I was required to be on medication. And the medication, I still was depressed. I still didn't want to be here. And so my insurance said, well, since this, you've got to go to a psychiatrist. So I went to a psychiatrist who said, you're too broken. There's no hope for you. The only thing that's going to work is electroshock therapy. And they were explaining that electroshock therapy is a 6-week thing where basically they're causing you to have seizures, and then you're not able to do anything for 24 to 48 hours because your body is going through seizures, and you have to be babysat for those 24 to 48 hours, and then you go back. So it's like every 3 days you go do this. And my husband was like, no, no, no. So he was like, maybe we can find a therapist that isn't in our insurance plan. That's, we just pay out of pocket. So we found one, and she was a hypnotist, and she kept wanting to do hypnosis on me. And I kept saying no, because I thought it was mind control. And she was going to force me to go back to this psychiatrist and have electroshock therapy. So I kept refusing until I was having a panic attack in her room, and I couldn't leave. And she had a client out there waiting, and she needed me to leave, but I couldn't leave. So she asked if she could try a technique on me. And I was like, yes. And she did. And it was hypnosis. And I was able to leave her office. And then the next day I woke up, and normally on the days I wasn't in therapy, I just stayed in bed because I didn't see any point of getting out of bed. There was nothing there for me. And I got out of bed, and I was walking around the house, and my husband came home, and he was like, oh my God, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, you need to go back there and let's figure this out. So I went back and I had another session because I was like, what is this hypnosis stuff? Like, what is it all about? So she did another session, and the next day, I was singing. I was listening to the music of who I had followed around, and I was kind of dancing, and I was like, there is something to this. So I decided I need to figure this out. Then I went and got certified in lots of different hypnosis modalities. And here I am today trying to help people never, ever feel that bad, to find their people that accept them for who they are and not judge you because we shouldn't be judged. We're all different. To not judging you, to finding the people that are you're my family. You're where I need to be. But not only that, being okay with who you are, knowing this is me, this is who I am, and it is beautiful.
I feel like you have a doctoral degree in deprogramming the subconscious mind because of your life experiences, because there's so much, like, you have the embedded trauma from childhood, which, as we know, it's a very tangled web of belief systems, but stored emotional trauma and even stored energetic blockages. Like, it's multi-layered.
Mhm.
And then in adulthood, there's also this conditioning of you're not okay the way you are. You have to conform, you have to assimilate, you have to push away from those things that felt innate. Like you and I were just talking about music and about the Grateful Dead. And I grew up in a musical family, and we were total nomads. We lived in a van for a long time in my childhood, and I went through a similar period of life where I was the weird kid, I was the dirty kid. And at that age, just really having to repress that identity. No wonder you created the Awaken course. Like, wow, I get it. I totally feel how passionate you are about this return to truth. It's just
Yeah,
gorgeous.
thank you. Yes, I believe that the whole universe can return back to their true selves, and that we shouldn't be afraid. And if we're feeling like we can't be ourselves, that's a time to stop and say, hmm, why is that? Why, because generally there's a reason behind that.
Can you talk a little bit more about hypnosis in this relationship to peeling back all of the layers of beliefs and conditioning and fears in order to tap into your true essence? Why this is just a perfect modality for getting back to your truth.
Hypnosis is the perfect modality because, like I said, I was put on medication. So I was on 7 different medications for anxiety, PTSD, and depression. And all they did was numb me out. Like I was just flat. I couldn't really feel, but I still felt icky. And it literally changes the makeup of your mind. Like there's now all kinds of scientific evidence to show like how it truly changes the dynamics of your brain. Now, I'm not saying I'm not grateful for the medicine. It was wonderful for me at that time. It just wasn't something that I needed, that I wanted to stay on because I didn't like that feeling of not being able to be happy, not being able to truly just feel, I was just this zombie. What hypnosis does is it seems so opposite. Like it seems like it would allow all these different thoughts to come in. But what it does is it takes your focus on one thing and like really hones in and allows you to one, relax, which a lot of times we're not, like our body's not relaxed. So therefore our mind isn't relaxed. So hypnosis allows you to push that pause button and just relax and allow you to get present. And then hypnosis, because it's tapping into that beautiful, beautiful unconscious mind where all those thoughts, patterns, belief systems are, because they're formed from the age of 0 to 7. So it taps into that belief system where we can literally go in and build new neural pathways and actually scientifically create new neural pathways and change those thoughts, patterns, and belief systems. Now, if it's really, really embedded, it's not going to happen overnight. It's, you're going to need a few times for it to happen. It will start to change that day. It really will. Like you're going to feel change. And the reason hypnosis is so profound is because it can go right into that moment. And I'm not talking about like you have to go to the event and relive the event. You can just feel what you felt, see what you saw, feel what you feel, hear what you heard, but you don't have to go to that event. Like I wouldn't have to go back to my childhood and relive that experience, but I can go back to those feelings and I can then override them with the feelings that I want to feel. So that is why hypnosis is so profound, because it's working with your brain. It's resetting yourself, allowing you to reemerge to what it was you thought you were, or even better, but also allowing your body to have that rest. Because when you're in that trauma based or that stress based or anxiety based or overwhelm based, like your body's not at rest. And so your mind is not at rest and you're probably just exhausted. And even that 40 minutes to 60 minutes of being in hypnosis, your body's resting, your mind is resting. It's allowing that chance to revive, reset, renew. Does that
It's
answer the
almost,
question?
yes, beautifully. And you touched on so many things, and I hope I can remember them all. What I was seeing in my mind is almost like when my laptop has too many tabs and programs open.
Mhm.
And when I finally restart it and I can get back to kind of the core functionality of that device. And it's like, I've had some really anxious hypnosis patients who thought, I'm not going to be able to relax. But when they do, they go so deep because
Deep.
they haven't allowed themselves to
Yes.
release and relax in so long.
Yeah.
And they're almost unconscious of how wound up they
Mhm.
are in the day to day, in the programming and the conditioning. And I know we say programming and conditioning a lot, but I think I think if you're speaking to a woman, we instantly get it because we tend to have to look a certain way, speak a certain way. We can't go after that raise. We can't be pushy about our ideas. And um, there's so many layers and layers and layers to that. And the thing that you were talking about with childhood, the reason I became a hypnotist was because I had done talk therapy forever about my abusive childhood. And I, as a last ditch effort, I had heard about Dr. Brian Weiss from the
Yeah,
book Many Lives, Many Masters
yeah,
and many other books. He's a legend.
yeah,
And I found somebody in Knoxville where I was living at the time that had studied with him. And I had the same misconception that I would have to go back to this memory, this traumatic place, and get all sticky in it again. And what was so profound to me is I went back to that place without any fear. I was able to watch it from my eyes in first person. I was also able to watch it in third person happening to me, like above it. And then, as you said, there's this, I don't want to say implantation because it's not that. It's a reframing. It's a new perspective. It's taking that very narrow lens and widening it out and kind of saying, like, okay, here's this different view, this different perspective on what happened to you. And all of a sudden, that emotional tie of pain is just resolved.
yeah.
It's so powerful.
It's almost like you're cutting the thread of that attachment to that part of you that you were. Like if you're dealing with, and I know so many people have suffered from traumas in so many different ways. But if you're suffering from trauma or anxiety, because anxiety is overwhelming, overwhelm, stress, because the state of affairs right now, so many people have so much coming at them that is stress induced that maybe they had never experienced before. When you're in that, it's like you don't know how to get out of it. Like, I know from my personal experience, I felt like I was in this dark hole and I was at the bottom and I couldn't see the light and I didn't know how to climb out of it. And hypnosis, like, it's like letting you climb out of that hole. It's like you're cutting this thread to that attachment of that anxiety, of that trauma, of that overwhelm. And you're and people like get a kick out of, they notice when you've started the change because all of a sudden, like you're standing a little differently, or you're smiling, or things that used to really agitate you all of a sudden just aren't. And people really start to notice. It's just little things that you do and they notice. And then you start to go, oh, okay, that works.
Yeah, those little subtle changes. Well, I mean, obviously, we're not aware of a lot of the programs that we're
Yeah.
carrying around until something happens like an election or or a personal hurdle like a divorce or something.
Yeah.
And then when all of that comes up, I think it's really hard to say to yourself, without shame and guilt, without feeling bad about it. Like, is this because of something that I haven't healed? Is this a wound? And that's what I love about your Awaken course, because I took your course the last time you did it. This is going to be the second iteration, which I'm so excited about because I know you have some little modifications and things that you're doing differently. But what I loved about it is it's just so practical. It just comes from such a loving place. And there's just this community vibe of just like, we're all on equal ground here. We've all got our baggage, we've all got our stuff. Let's learn how to peel it back. I'm picturing the blooming onion from
Yes.
Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you came to design the Awaken course and how I know you received it in a very beautiful way.
Yeah. Um, so so I had wanted to create a program and I've done many, many workshops. Um, but I didn't feel prepared and I got what's called a download. about this program. And I got it over Memorial Day weekend. And I was like, cool, I'll do this like in the fall. And it was like, oh no, you are doing it in July. Well, I couldn't do it in July. I just couldn't get it together. So it came to me in a download and everything came through. And what it was said was none of this information is new. Like, we're to the point where there really isn't new information. It's just changing the information, like maybe how we speak about it, or maybe we need to simplify information. And so that is what came to me, was to simplify information so that people can apply it right then and there. It's not like this course that you take and then you're like, oh my gosh, I got to find the time to implement this. It's like something that you can take on that day, implement it, and start seeing the little changes within you. And it's basically what it is so when we're in the not happy spaces, and a lot of times we don't even know like that we're in that. But when we're in those unhappy spaces, we're living in what's called ego, in our head space. And we can't see things through the lens of like joy, gratitude, love. And it's just like almost survival mechanism. Like you're just pushing through, you're pushing through, you're pushing through, and you're just, perhaps getting up, getting the kids to school, doing all the things. And then you go to bed exhausted and you wake up exhausted because you didn't rest from the day before and you got to get up and do it again. There, you're not living from a space of like even knowing yourself, you really don't even know who you are. So that's called headspace. And we teach you how to get into your heart space, which is where you have this connection to your divine, whatever that is to you. If it's God, Christ, the universe, source, whatever you call it, you open that communication back up and you start to live in your heart space, which we call love. And then once you understand the ego process, then we go into the shadow work. And shadow is not bad and it's not good. It's parts of you. And these parts of you that you have repressed because you've been told, like, especially girls, were told, like, oh, girls are meant to be seen, not heard. And so you learn not to speak up for yourself, or like you're a people pleaser, which guilty. Or like you don't like the way you look because you were, maybe your parents said like things to you about food choices. So those are called our shadows, and those are parts of us that we repress because we think that part of us is bad. And it's not bad. It's a part of you that needs to connect with you to know they're safe, that they're okay. And then we also have what's called a golden shadow. And those are parts that we repress too. But those are the parts of you that are like your amazingness. So say like you're really artistic, but yet you were told like, oh, don't overshadow your sibling, or you don't want to make Johnny look bad in class, or, oh, in our family, we're not artists, we're business people, things like that. Or you performed in a choir and you got nervous up on stage and you didn't perform really well, so you suppress that and you never sing again. Those are our golden parts, and those parts need our attention too. And so you learn to integrate back into those and become whole again. And then we also learn to raise the energetic vibration. So when you start integrating these things, you instantly like start feeling better, which raises your vibration. And then that ripples out into the world. Like perhaps you're at the grocery store and you're feeling good because you're in your heart space, you've connected with your shadows, you've had some hypnosis, and you're like just feeling good, and you're at the grocery store, you're at the checkout line, and you make eye contact with the cashier. And they like notice that and smile. That's a ripple. That person then is going to be like, hello, how are you? I hope you have a great day, to the next person. And then that just keeps rippling and rippling and rippling. And then this program became for women because I mean, we have come so far in such, when you really look at history, women have really come so far in a short amount of time, but we still have so much further to go. And I think as women, we're so good at losing ourselves, and especially if you have families, we're so good at losing ourselves in our family. We identify as being a mom, we identify as being a wife or a partner or whatever. Or if you're working, you identify as a mom, a partner, whatever your job is, that we lose ourselves. And we also lose that like true connection with people. And so this program was designed specifically for women to help them reconnect with their true essence in a natural way. Like this is all naturally, organically.
I love how you talk about the shadow because I've been on this journey for 20 years and I've seen the spiritual community and just the personal growth community talk about you have to get into the deep, dark, ugly shadow. And so it became this journey into the scary unknown. And now it's much more about like, you got to feel what you feel. You have to allow space for these emotions that you haven't gotten in touch with. And that label of bad or wrong is simply a man-made label slapped on top of it that none of it's bad, none of it's good. It's just an expression of self, an expression of your journey. And so I love that. And what I started thinking about was resource states, like ego state
Mhm.
transformation,
Yeah.
because the most fascinating thing to me when I started studying hypnosis was allowing these parts of you to simply have some say. They're so grateful. Like the parts of you that you've repressed. And for me, when you were talking about the musician, hand raised high, what is so healing for me is to allow that anxiety to come up, and tapping has been huge for me, and getting present with it. And once you can kind of face these parts of you from a compassionate and loving and accepting place, all of a sudden it shines a light and it's not that scary anymore. It's not that heavy. It's not a dark shadow. It's a beautiful part of you. And so I love how that's all just integrated into this like excavation of all of the crap that isn't you to find
Mhm.
the true essence of what is you. And
Yes.
it's just all bathed in like this loving acceptance of self.
Yes.
It's just
Come have
gorgeous.
compassion with Cassidy.
Compassion with Cassidy. We need to write
Compassion.
that one down. So, what's something that you see a lot of women dealing with? Like, do you ever see common themes coming up with your clients?
Oh, the biggest common theme is they've lost their essence, their true essence. They don't know who they are, and they don't come looking for that. That's just the underlying thing. Like they come for, most of my clients are 40 to almost 60. And generally it's they have children or their children are in school and they're either stuck in a job that they hate or they're burnt out on their job. They know that they're meant for something else. They might know what it is, they might not know what it is, but they don't know how to get there because they don't know, like they're so lost in who they are. They have identified as all those things instead of identifying with another one. Sorry,
Did I have another orb?
you did.
I am the orb queen today.
You are.
That's so
Uh,
wild. Thank
so
you.
yes, exactly. Thank you. Um, thank you for your presence today. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
So yeah, they come and they're just usually like very lost. They know that they're meant for more. They either don't know what they're meant for, or they know what they're meant for, but they don't know how to get started. So it all boils down to they've lost. And that's why this program was created for women because they've lost like their true essence. And you know, I do work with men and I enjoy working with men, but they seem more the men that I work with are more really sure of themselves and what they've built or what they're getting ready to build. And so that's why this program was designed for women, and creating that community of like sacred sisterhood, that, you know, it's a space where you're held so lovingly and you can be whatever you want to be, and you're accepted and loved, and you're gonna like build these beautiful relationships with people.
I think that community aspect is so important because just in the past, I would say in the past 3 years, I've gotten very mindful of my circle. It used to be where I had my professional corporate life with my corporate friends, and I had to dress a certain way, show up a certain way, and not talk about the Anunnaki or, there was a certain Leslie that had to show up. And now I've really refined my circle, and I haven't shut that out. I bless it. I love it as a part of me, but that I never understood the true strength of a supportive soul tribe where I am fully appreciated for however I show up. That's a lot of the reason why I show up to soul support outside with the cows or with a ball cap on, is because I really believe in creating communities where we can be fully accepted. And in regards to men, I have the same experience where the men that I treat, probably because of conditioning, but also that tie to like masculine energy that is kind of like go forth,
Mhm.
go, do, take action.
Mhm.
They've been permitted kind of an open roadmap to exploring,
Mhm.
trying
Yes,
things, and
yes.
women have been kind of confined to what we are allowed and not allowed to express.
Mhm.
And so that community aspect, especially with your Awaken program, because that soul sister network is absolutely pivotal to feeling strong enough to go searching, like to dig deep. You've got those angels on your shoulder, like, I got you, I'm with you, I'm going through it too. And it makes a world of difference.
Mhm.
Yeah. When you were talking, all I could think about was Ram Dass and his be do have. And women, I think we're so conditioned to do, have, be. And when we flip that to be, like, first, in order to, I think, have this life that we're meant to have, that we deserve to have, we have to be. We have to be ourselves. We have to be in love with ourselves. Then you get to do, and you do it the way that feels good to you, that feels right to you. And then you just have the community, you have the love, you have all of those things, rather than the do, have, be, because you do things based off what like you believe is culturally acceptable. And then you have like, you know, in the United States, we have this condition of keeping up with the Joneses, and you have all the things like the house and the cars and all of the things. And then you be, if you have time for that.
Yeah, if you have time for it. Well
Yeah.
said, Cassidy. And I think you're also speaking to this shift that we're seeing in humanity where, and no judgment, we have had a masculine energy to our whole existence. All of our systems and paradigms were built with this foundation of masculine energy. And now I feel like we're transitioning to this embodiment of the feminine.
Mhm.
And what I'm noticing is that people are starting to understand masculine and feminine not as gender, but as frequency, as these different types of energetic expression that are equally valid, but very different. And I don't know, what do you see changing in the world as we start to kind of open ourselves up to these feminine frequencies?
Well, I think as we open up to feminine frequencies, it brings balance. because I mean, when you think about like the yin yang, that's a balance. It's, dark and light. And we as humans are built that way. We have dark and we have light, and we have dark shadow, we have golden shadow. And so I think it's, we also have feminine and masculine within us. And some people resonate, like sometimes they're out of balance, or one resonates higher than the other. And so I think when we really embody and really embrace this feminine energy, it's going to bring balance and wholeness. And as the collective, I think there's going to be more acceptance, more um, because the consciousness is one. We are all one. We're yes, we're different beings, but we're all one connection. And so I think it's going to bring about this beautiful balance and hopefully some harmony within.
I heard a really interesting snippet last night. I have a really bad habit of going on TikTok as I lay in bed. Horrible practice. Do not recommend. But a lot of times it's my only time to kind of entertain myself. Anyway, I was listening and I can't even recall his name, but he was a remote viewer for the CIA. And the interviewer asked him, "What is your theory on life?" And he said, I think that obviously our incarnation is an individuation of the soul.
Mhm.
It's that oversoul or whatever you want to call it that has essentially sent out like an octopus tentacle, this part of itself to express in the 3D world. But his theory expanded into he believes that everyone we meet and encounter in our lives is also us. And
Mhm.
it's that same soul that has individuated in reflections, in mirrors to help us better understand ourselves through reflecting back to us the parts of us that need love and need healing. And the first thing that popped into my mind was how near-death experiencers talk about life review, that it's not just first person. They are also able to see all of their choices and experiences from every other perspective. And I was like, holy cow, like this idea that we are one, I think we hear that a lot. And I think that, anyone who believes in source or God or this divine power understands that we're obviously all made up of the same stuff. But that really was like, oh my goodness, what if we really are just the same being expressing back to itself in different reflections of itself so that it can know itself better? And it's like, but wait, that makes perfect sense.
It does.
It's
It
just
does.
so beautiful. And so I agree with you. I think that we are coming into more balance, harmony with the masculine and feminine, harmony with unification of all, seeing all of these individuated parts of us as not separate, but just like a mosaic. Like you have all these little tiny pieces of beautiful tile and they're all different, but they all make this beautiful
Mhm.
piece of art. I think I agree with you. I think we're definitely moving into an age of fearless, authentic expression and
Mhm.
acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is so true and so powerful, because think about like when you're judgy, like I get judgy sometimes, like you're driving in the car and you're like, damn it, why'd you just cut me off? And you get all grumpy and you start, and then you're like, okay, but really that's a judgment of yourself, because like, oh, I'm just not feeling, I'm very tired today and I'm, grumpy or something like that. So those like, that's a really powerful way to see that, those reflections of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the courses that people offer nowadays, there's this desire to get in there and do the work. Like I feel like these integrative experiences where you have these containers for really in-depth discussion. You're actually doing practices, you're being guided through meditations and hypnosis. Like people are ready to do the dang thing.
Mhm. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
me included. Me included for sure.
Love it.
So you are planning on doing the Awaken course here pretty soon. How is
Mhm.
it going to be different from your previous iteration? What
Okay,
are
well,
you going to do differently?
okay, well, this one's going to be a bit longer. And this time it's going to be 2 days instead of 1 day. And not full days, I'm sorry. So it'll be 2 1-hour days. So it'll be Fridays and Sundays. Fridays will be I don't like to say instruction because it's not really instruction, it's identification of the lesson, exploring that. So, like exploring ego, exploring the shadows, exploring. And then Saturday, you'll integrate those things. You'll really go within if you can. I mean, sometimes you can't, but then Sunday, you'll come back and you will be with community and we'll be like, talking about what that was like for you. You'll take time to meet and really connect with, the other soul sisters that are with us, and you'll really get a chance to develop those deep bonds, that sisterhood, that commune that we crave as beings. We really are, oops, sorry, designed to have a tribe around us. And so that's how it's going to be different this time. Because last time it was just the exploration and introduction, and we didn't have the time to go into the community base. So this time there's really a deep focus on building that community, that sisterhood.
And it's a total of 5 weeks,
6 weeks. It's going to be six
six
weeks.
weeks.
Yes.
That's awesome that you have an integration day. And I think that's so important. Just this morning, you and I were talking about like having your practices and having your rituals and sticking to them, but also not beating yourself up when you can't stick to them. And so having some
Yes.
accountability measures, like if I know I have to show up on Sunday and talk about what practice I did and have to share in a group, I'm gonna do the dang work.
Yes.
It's so good that that's a part of the experience because like accountability is huge.
Yeah, yeah. And it's either going to be either a Facebook group or some kind of platform where there's open communication in between the Sunday to Friday, or even if there's questions on Saturday where, I'm available to answer questions, or, if you are feeling a certain way and don't understand, there will be a platform that you can go to and talk with other sisters and, also ask questions in a safe environment.
And if someone also wants to have a private one-on-one hypnosis session with you, is that something they can also do?
Yes, they can. Yes, they
Because
can.
that would be me. I would be in the course and just be like, oh, I need to dig deep on this right here.
And that's something that you get in the group too. You do get group hypnosis every week, which I am so passionate about group hypnosis. Anyone who knows me like knows how passionate I am about it because there is so much scientific evidence to support the powerful transformations that happens in groups. And so I just get so lit up for that. So you do get group hypnosis as well every week.
Awesome. That's where the magic's at, baby.
Yes, it is.
It's all magical. Well, Cassidy, this has been like the best conversation. I always have the best conversations with you because
Right back at you.
I just feel like we always get on these really great topics of discussion. So if someone wanted to find out more about you and the Awaken program, where can they go?
They can go to my website, which is CassidyGreen.com.